Hey, keep the beat playing, J.O.
I hail my brothers. Y'all suck out the frankincense burning. As the frankincense and myrrh burn, I start making sense of all the wisdom that I learned. Turn the pages of these scriptures, I see the bigger picture. I wait for his return, earn my rightful place in heaven. 777, as the frankincense and myrrh burn, I start making sense of all the wisdom that I learned. Turn the pages of these scriptures, I see the bigger picture. I wait for his return, earn my rightful place in heaven. 777.
Frankincense and myrrh smells so good, had to put it on my shirt. But better than that, it's the word. I used to live so absurd, bending every curve with the slur of my word. The taste of life had me right up all night, high in the sky like planes when they fly. Trying to get a glimpse of heaven, knew what I was missing. But then the prophet said, wisdom and understanding is your blessing. Money is the root of all your stressing. The power that lies within, that's the spirit. Take heed, don't dare miss it. Like fathers walking out on their children, walking into hell's kitchen. 666, what numbers you bearing? It's that holy grail, holy seventh Sabbath day. I pray I don't travel in the winter, all my girl gets sucked. Cause greater than the days of Noah, these last days. As
the frankincense and myrrh burn, I start making sense of all the wisdom that I learned. Turn the pages of these scriptures, I see the bigger picture. I wait for his return, earn my rightful place in heaven. 777, as the frankincense and myrrh burn, I start making sense of all the wisdom that I learned. Turn the pages of these scriptures, I see the bigger picture. I wait for his return, earn my rightful place in heaven. 777.
I got the 1611 in my lap. Evil spirits lurking around me, so I gotta light a match. World War III, pray my Aki got my back. By Hashimba, rock a thumb, raise my fist and give them dap. These internet prophets got me logging on my Mac. If you only preaching on the internet, it's all cap. If you only preaching on the internet, it's all caps. LOZ, we in the trenches, Air Sabbath, that's a fact. Holding posts at they camp till my stomach get a cramp. Trying to save a couple souls right before these clouds crack. The law was a light, so I'm shining like a lamp. Write these scriptures on my heart, Lord, I need that holy stamp. I'm patiently waiting, eyes on the kingdom, be ready to take it. If you scared, go to church, cause it's about to get dangerous. Open up the book of law, while the heathen is painted. Got that frankincense burning while I'm thumbing through pages in
As the frankincense and myrrh burn, I start making sense of all the wisdom that I learned. Turn the pages of these scriptures, I see the bigger picture. I wait for his return, earn my rightful place in heaven. 777, as the frankincense and myrrh burn, I start making sense of all the wisdom that I learned. Turn the pages of these scriptures, I see the bigger picture. I wait for his return, earn my rightful place in heaven. 777.
It's that frankincense and myrrh burn. 777, Yahweh Shai gon' return. Take the kingdom of heaven. Pharisees, you wicked, misinterpret the scriptures. Took millions out your congregation trying to get richer. My main man who put me in the truth is down with you. All praises to the occupant, LOZ to reconfigure. Walking the narrow path, praying to become destined. Have faith in this personification will be a blessing. Metaphorically spitting this truth, giving them facts. We stay strapped, apocryphas and Bibles on our backs. They want us eradicating the hood, giving us crack. Matter of fact, we gonna put Edom up in the trap. Trigger killing my brothers like bombing the Taliban. We got next nuclear warfare on Babylon. Revelation coming soon, another Vietnam. Look out for the whistle, hit you with a missile and a bomb.
As the frankincense and myrrh burn, I start making sense of all the wisdom that I learned. Turn the pages of these scriptures, I see the bigger picture. I wait for his return, earn my rightful place in heaven. 777, as the frankincense and myrrh burn, I start making sense of all the wisdom that I learned. Turn the pages of these scriptures, I see the bigger picture. I wait for his return, earn my rightful place in heaven. 777.
As I'm flipping through these scriptures, breaking down the parable, when that revelation hit you, how you feeling so hysterical, but now I get the picture. I wait for his return. Thank you, y'all, for the baptism of this wisdom that I learned. As my frankincense is burned, I'm meditating heavy on these laws. All that folly talk, I'm really not concerned. Completion number 7, that 144 cages, doing what it take to earn my rightful place in heaven. Woe unto you, reverence, Scouting all our people selling lies in your Sunday service. This should be illegal. Deception, what they feed you. It leave you so confused. The reason why I'm always studying to show thyself approved. Israel who he choose. I'm counting on my blessings. When you got nothing to lose, there's no reason to be stressing. I always stay secluded with fringes on my shirt, meditating on these scriptures, burning frankincense and myrrh.
As the frankincense and myrrh burn, I start making sense of all the wisdom that I learned. Turn the pages of these scriptures, I see the bigger picture. I wait for his return, earn my rightful place in heaven. 777, as the frankincense and myrrh burn, I start making sense of all the wisdom that I learned. Turn the pages of these scriptures, I see the bigger picture. I wait for his return, earn my rightful place in heaven. 777.
Hey, hey, hey. Yeah. Okay. See them kings on the block. I know you see them kings on the block. Bringing out the word in every spot. Bringing out the word in every spot. Yeah. You see them kings on the block now. Bringing out the word in every spot now. 1611, it's a Glock now. All around the world got it locked down. You see them kings on the block now. Bringing out the word in every spot now. 1611, it's a Glock now. All around the world got it locked down. You see them prophets on them corners. 1611 got them on us. Spreading out this word like corona. Waking up our people out of comas. Yeah, this truth, they can't stop now. No matter what they do, we bring it out now. You come against the Lord, you'll be confounded. With that two-edged sword, you'll get chopped down. Hey, you see them kings on the block now. Bringing out the word in every spot now. 1611, it's a Glock now. All around the world got it locked down. You see them kings on the block now. Bringing out the word in every spot now. 1611, it's a Glock now. All around the world got it locked
we pull up on them, they be thinking it's a drive-by. 40 soldiers creeping like a thief in a nighttime. Never leave my brother, if we rollin', we gon' all ride it. Ain't no greater love for my brother, my life up on the line. Hey, they gon' get this wisdom if we don't go out and teach them. Yasharella, Prince of Power, you heathens, is just a remix. Bow down and kiss the ring, I'm picking slaves out for the kingdom. Son, let him know he be reaching. We'll be in these trenches teaching outside with them blickers.
Hey, you see them kings on the block now. Bringing out the word in every spot now. 1611, it's a Glock now. All around the world got it locked down. You see them kings on the block now. Bringing out the word in every spot now. 1611, it's a Glock now. All around the world got it locked down.
Boys got the tools in the Glock, standing in the same spot where Lil Johnny got shot. Hit your pastor with the scriptures, make him do the chop. I watch him dance, he just talking, call that thing a blah blah. I'm in the grave, in the valley of the midst of the dry bones. Crucified on the streets like Christ when he got lied on. Kiss the ring of the king, big done us. Never miss with the sword, I'll praise you to the Father.
You see them kings on the block now. Bringing out the word in every spot now. 1611, it's a Glock now. All around the world got it locked down. You see them kings on the block now. Bringing out the word in every spot now. 1611, it's a Glock now. All around the world got it locked down.
They speaking blasphemy. If you want a prophet, then just ask for me. We running this race just like an athlete. Actually, Judas Maccabees, masterpiece. Got them saying, book, chapter, verse, without that you ain't saying none. Prophets Zamar, let's get it poppin'. Repenting ain't no sinning for me, that's the only option. The scripture is a picture, the Christian pastor be cropping. 1 Peter 4:11, homie, we don't do no talking. Let's go.
You see them kings on the block now. Bringing out the word in every spot now. 1611, it's a Glock now. All around the world got it locked down. You see them kings on the block now. Bringing out the word in every spot now. 1611, it's a Glock now. All around the world got it locked down.
That's why the world's greatest fool and name it after me.
Hey. Shout out ASAP on the engineering. Shout out to Ruddy J on the beat. Let's go. Hey, hey, hey. What? Check me out. 712, 78, I hit the earth. All praises to the Father for my birth, like the frankincense and myrrh. Now it's fringes on my shirt, cause I put the Father first. Kick my friends to the curb, then I swerve. Ricky Bobby in the streets with the scripts for the lost sheep like Uber Eats, Mask off, I got faith in Hamashiach. Blast off into space in the chariots. Fornication with the nations got us waiting for salvation. Just be patient, milk and honey, I can taste it And where the priest Kahan, you don't know where you going unless you know where you come from. Convicted in my spirit, I spit it and they hear it. The 12 tribes love it, the other nations fear it and clear it. I'ma spit until it's over with.
Well, it's cold, hell is hot. Prosper in the law, call it jackpot. Never sell your soul, this is food for thought. Martyr for the Lord, Hebrew juggernaut. I got the bow, I got the hammer. Trust in the Lord, never trust a drummer. We in the slums, we in the sticks. On the corners where them brothers drop a couple bricks. Matthias with the law, if you live in the sin, the spirit gon' burn with the skin that you win. And the Lord ain't your friend if you really don't repent. He might just forgive, but it really just depends. Keep going off again and again. You should really chase the kingdom, but you rather buy them rims. If you living as a criminal, the Lord apprehends. Cause you love living wicked just to chase some dividends. Please don't hold that L cause we looking for wins. I hold my head high as that boat starts to bend. You running out of time, bro, don't be a fool. You drowning in your sins, don't drown in the pool. You love living high, but I call that thing a crack rock. Bring the smoke to the room, I guess that's a hot box. Hebrew in my blood, I'm born in Florida. If you keep sinning, boy, it's nice knowing you. Better grab the tool, Angels can be cruel, don't be stupid, they will kill ya. Better live your life, on the wives unfamiliar. Loved 100 lives of the life that we still there. I be like, oh yeah, Israelite, oh yeah. Speaking only truth in the booth, I'm a truth bearer. Let your light shine, you'll be frosting up the Lord's prayer. If you deny, you might die for these nightmares. You was born to win, not to live in sin. When you go repent, if not now then win. Patient wearing thin, sin is not the trend. You was born to win, not to live in sin. When you go repent, if not now then win. Patient wearing thin, sin is not the trend.
What you say, Kadash, sin is not the trend. I'll keep right, but it's a wave that's slave to your sin. It's cool to break the laws, lit to turn on God. That's what they show you till you see it's really a facade. Shout out my brothers in this walk, we moving like the mob. And when I'm going off, they let me know I'm going off. Homie, chill, I think you doing too much showing off. My dog got killed off of jealousy, he like the floss. Exodus 2017, that's really us. Our people strung out on amphetamine, smoking weed ain't enough. That's why we on them street corners right there by the bus. Doing the work of y'all, my brother, that's a must. I had to learn temptation is bigger than some lust. I'm in this walk forever, my nigga, till I'm dust. And every time I understand the scripture, it's a rush.
Win, not to live in sin. When you go repent, if not now then win. Patient wearing thin, sin is not the trend. You was born to win, not to live in sin. When you go repent, if not now then win. Patient wearing thin, sin is not the trend.
Khan, all praise to the Most High, to the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Shalom to the 12 tribes of Israel. Shabbat shalom to the family in the building. All praise to the Most High, to the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The mighty. Oh, I'm still on mute.
Nah, we hear you.
Khan. The mighty Akim from the Light of Zion will introduce himself. Hallelujah.
Shalom. This is Captain Kadash from the Light of Zion. Hallelujah.
Khan, Shalom. This is Captain Zamar from the Light of Zion. All praise to the Most High. Shalom.
Khan, Shalom. This is Captain Kyron from the Light of Zion. Hallelujah.
Khan, hallelujah, shalom. All praise be to the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. My name is Captain Nathaniel Allah from the Light of Zion.
Officer Obadiah, Officer Asher. Con, can I be heard?
Con.
Officer Obadiah, you there?
Con, I hear you out.
Con, Con, I'm gonna have to try to bring Asher back in because I can't hear his mic.
Con. Shalom. Can you hear me? All right. Con. Con. Shalom. Shalom. This is your officer Asher from D-Lad of Zion. Con.
All praise to the Most High, to the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Shabbat shalom to the 12 tribes of Israel. All praise to the Most High that He protect our going out and coming in, that He bless us with another opportunity to keep the Shabbat, to bring in the Shabbat in the spirit of the Scriptures and the law and the testimony and the Torah and Tanakh and the prophets, and the Son, most importantly, Hamashiach Yahushua, who died for the nation of Israel. All praise to the Most High, to the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Right. So Shabbat shalom to the people in the building. Shabbat shalom to Bill Feasy, all praises to the Most High. Right, Shabbat Shalom to John Israel, all praises to the Most High. Brothers definitely showing love in the spirit, right? Brother definitely showing support. So we definitely appreciate your brother be on showing love on all channels, right? So definitely appreciate your support, King. All praise to the Most High. Most High continue to bless you and make your way prosperous. All praises, right? Shabbat Shalom to Josh Vaughn. All right, hopefully I'm saying the last name right, King. All right, Shabbat Shalom to Josh Vaughn. All praise to the Most High, to the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We definitely appreciate everybody that continues to tune in on a daily basis, right? You see, we still in that process of trying to build a sanctuary for our people, right? A sanctuary for the 12 tribes of Israel, right? So if it's on your spirit, definitely cash out $7 to LOZ Lee County, right? Brothers is not buying the new Benz, but brothers is not buying the new Tesla, right? Brothers is not going to get the Elon Musk spirit with the donations and try to get a Tesla, right? So, definitely everything goes to a righteous cause, right? To build up the kingdom of the Most High. All praise to the Most High, to the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? So, before we get started, right, we just want to open up with the scriptures, right, to give all glory, honor, and praise to the Most High through His Son Yahushua, right? Can I get the book of Colossians, chapter 3, verse 17, Baba Gusha? Somebody get the book of Colossians,
Con, I
verse
got you.
17. Come.
Con, this is the book of Colossians, chapter 3 and verse 17. And whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of Hamashiach Yahushua, giving thanks to the power and the Father by him.
All praise to the Most High, to the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We definitely, want to do everything through the Most High, through His Son, Hamashiach Yahushua, right? That's the order, right? To get to the Son, right, or to get to the Most High, we need to have the Son, right? Everything that we receive, right, is through the Son of Mashiach Yahushua. I actually just want to demonstrate that through a quick scripture, not to go on a tangent. All right, we do have a topic we're going to get into through the Spirit, but can I get the book of Romans, chapter 5, verse 1, Baba Kusha? Right, the book of Romans, chapter 5, verse 1, right? Everything that we do to receive the Most High, to receive the kingdom of heaven, to receive those benefits and rewards that's written in Romans 9 and 4, we receive it through the Most High by His Son, right? Or through His Son to the Most High. So Romans 5 and 1, Baba Gashah.
Con, this is the book of Romans, chapter 5, verse 1. Therefore, being justified by faith, we have peace with the Most High through our out of one, Hamashiach Yahushai.
Right. So we have peace with the Most High through Hamashiach Yahushai. You can't have peace with the Most High if you're not honoring and confessing the Son. Because to have that peace with the Most High, it comes from your obedience to the words of Hamashiach Yahushai. Right? The scriptures talk about in the book of Timothy, if I'm not mistaken, but to consenting to the whole words, or to consenting to the words of Hamashiach Yahushai. So anything that we receive, anything that we want to receive from the Most High, it's through his Son to get to the Most High. It has to go through the Son, right? Let's get the book of 1 Timothy 6:3, just to demonstrate, right, that we have to hearken into the wholesome words of Hamashiach Yahushai, right? To get to the Most High, to have, like the scripture says, to have peace with the Most High, it's through his Son, right? So let's get that 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 3. And I'm not gonna, go on a tangent. I just want to address this, just kind of just been on my spirit, something I noticed throughout the scriptures, right? To get to the Most High, to have peace with the Most High is through a Son, right? 1 Timothy 6:3, Baba Gashab, somebody can read that.
This is the book of 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 3.
Right.
If any man teach otherwise and consent not to wholesome words, even the words of our out of one Hamashiach Yahushai, and to the doctrine which is according to godliness, he is proud, knowing nothing, but doting about questions and strifes of words, whereof cometh envy, strife, railings, evil surmisings,
right,
perverse disputings of men, of corrupt minds,
right,
and destitute of the truth.
This is the result of you not hearkening to the wholesome words of Hamashiach Yahushai. But you can't say you want to get to the Most High, you want to receive the kingdom of heaven, but you don't want to honor the Son, right? The scriptures are saying you know nothing if you don't have that knowledge, right? It says, how did they term it? It says, destitute. Is that
destitute of truth.
Right. Salaki. How do you pronounce that word, King?
Destitute
of the truth. Right. I got to kind of Salaki. Let me get into the Webster. See what that destitute. That means lacking, right? Let me see what the definition talk about. Right. Destitute, meaning without the basic necessities of life, impoverished. Right.
So they don't know the basics of the truth.
They don't know the basics of the truth. They're lacking it, right? And you lack it by not consenting to the wholesome words of Hamashiach Yahushai, right? I could go. I don't want to go on a tangent, but we need the law and Hamashiach Yahushai. I was watching this video, man. This Christian saying that you can't have both. You can't have faith and works, because if it's works, then there's no more of faith. But if it's of faith, then it's no more of works. So you therefore need to have faith excluded from your works. And that's really, I'm not trying to go on a rant, but it's just, we hearken to the words of Hamashiach Yahushai, right? And we hearken to the Most High God and the words that he spoke unto Moses, because I'm not trying to go on a tangent, but I just wanted to demonstrate that everything that we receive, right? We receive it because we go through the Son to get to the Most High, right? Just wanted to put that on everybody's spirit, just to remember that, right? Everything is through the Son to the Most High. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up this video. Spare with me 1 second. 1 second. All right, can somebody get the book of Deuteronomy 32 about remember the days of old? Right, just to get into this topic, because you see the title, the Rosewood Massacre'S, the devil revealed. Right. So we're going to demonstrate a historic event that happened to our people. Right. Let me just bring this up right quick. All right, brothers have anything they want to bring out, y'all can.
I want to add something real quick. Obviously this story is a little bit older, but it's very important that we continue to, remember the things that our people went through. We're in a time and place right now in history where, they try to negate what we've been through. They try to avoid what we've been through, and they try to water down the things that our people have suffered in the hands of our enemy. So as we continue to tell these stories, remember our children, they got to know these things. You have 10-year-olds, 15-year-olds now where you start talking about slavery and they don't even understand that, we were once placed on boats and hung by trees and drugged by trucks. They don't understand these things. So we have to continually, tell the stories of our forefathers, not only the bad things, but the good things too. Tell them about their history. Tell them about where we come from, the lineage, the royalty that we come from, and the standards that we got to live up to. So that's why it's important to bring stories out like this. It's not that it's a modern day thing, but it's to bring these things to remembrance. Just like the scripture that Captain Tyrone is about to bring out. We got to remember the days of old, remember the things that we've been through. So just wanted to throw that out there. Go ahead.
I also wanted to add real fast too, like they put into remembrance the tragedies that have happened to them, but they want to take out of remembrance the tragedies that have happened to us. You know what I'm saying? And they want to make it as if there's no stain to their name. And it's our job to actually show all the stains and the blemishes that these other nations have done to us. So that's all I have.
That's right. It's crazy because, like, just to bring out when you talk about the tiny hats, right? In the quote unquote Jewish congregation, everybody knows who their enemy was, right? They proudly say, "Yeah, it was the Germans. It was the Germans." I'm gonna say, right? It's the Germans, right? That was the Nazis,
the Holocaust,
right?
Yeah,
Yeah. It was the Germans. They easily can identify them. They can identify who their adversary was. They can identify who was opposing them, who was quote unquote oppressing them. It was easily identifiable who they were, without a doubt. But when it comes to us and what the things that we went through, no, don't say that. Don't make it a race thing anymore, right? Don't mention the race, right? Those people are not on Earth today, right? But they never like to be specific on which nation of people were doing these things to us. It doesn't make any sense, right? So we got a video, pretty much like a short documentary, just showing the atrocities that happened to our people, man, right? And the perpetual hatred, right, that comes from these other nations, right? Chiefly the Duke of Edom, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and play this, right? If brothers have any precepts, definitely just let me know to pause the video. All right.
The South today is really not much different than the rest of the country, but the Old South, that's another story and what the Rosewood Massacre is all about. 60 years ago, Rosewood in North Florida was a thriving little community of about 200 people, almost all of them black. Early in January 1923, some 1,000 whites came to town, and when they left about a week later, Rosewood had been burned to the ground. No one knows for sure how many people were killed there. The figures might be as high as 40. For 60 years, the story of Rosewood remained secret and was only uncovered recently by Florida newspaperman Gary Moore, who is writing a book on the massacre at Rosewood. Rosewood. There's a road sign proclaiming its name, but no memorial commemorating its dead. Located 9 miles from the Gulf of Mexico at Cedar Key, Florida, Rosewood today is little more than a trailer park. You search in vain for any sign of a slaughter, for any hint of the mass murder that took place here a long time ago. Well, what did it look like?
It's a big blaze. You seen things on fire, a big blaze, just burning down, just burning up the whole thing, just burning up my grandmama's house, churches, and everything. They burn up everything we had, all our clothes and everything. Yeah, they burn it up.
Why did they burn everything?
They was mad.
But you were just little children.
I know it. What did we care? They didn't care. They killed us. I was about 8 years old.
Minnie Lee Langley was only a child when she became a refugee. Now, she's a great-grandmother. At her home in Jacksonville, Florida, we talked to her about the place where she was born, Rosewood, Florida, the place that haunts her memory.
I know they killed my aunt, and they killed my granddaddy. Made my granddaddy dug his hole. He didn't have but one arm, but they made him dug his own grave. And he prayed, and they shot him backwards in the grave.
At Rosewood.
At Rosewood.
This is where it all began in the
We
white
got-
settlement of.
we gotta pause there right there. We gotta pause there because that's deep. You know, when we go out in the street, give me Wisdom of Solomon chapter 5. You know, we go out in the highways and byways and we tell the people what they have done to us, and the retribution that has to happen, the reparations that has to happen, you know, to reconcile those things. People look at us like we're crazy, but there's millions of untold stories just like this one. These are stories that America sweeps under the rug, right? There's a family still affected by the things that went down back in this time. You know, she had to endure that, watching this man, you know, somebody that she loved dearly, dig his own grave with one arm, and then they shoot him down to go in that grave. All right, give me Wisdom of Solomon chapter 5 and verse 1 real quick.
This book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 1. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him,
All right,
and made no account of his labors.
they made no account of anything that we've been through.
Right.
You know, they made no account of the things that we have gone through in this country. All right, they look at us and say, "Hey, man, you guys are equal. You guys could get that good job now.
Right.
You guys have equal opportunity in employment and in housing and in banking and in infrastructure. You guys have all these things, but they neglect to remember these things, right? They say, well, just get over, man. You guys are good now, but that stuff that happened here still, you know, affects our household. So when we got all this emotion, when we got all this grief, when we got all of these things coming out through the spirit of the Most High, they look at us and say, you know what? We don't like y'all. Like we're wrong for feeling some type of way about what the enemies have done to us. All right, read that one more time, Mark.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 1. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him, and made no account of his labors.
All right.
When they see it, they shall be troubled with fear.
So to come from this state, to see, you know, young men, strong men going into the highways and byways and telling the enemy that they have to pay for the things that have gone on, for things like this, they say they're going to be troubled by it, right? And we see that all the day long. These people do not like to see a nation rising up from something so treacherous. Right? You know, they got a saying, they say, you know, you came from the mud. That's what it really is.
Right.
Right.
I wanted to say something about Wisdom of Solomon 5 because I'm like visualizing it, right? And then when it talks about the righteous man, right, which is the Israelite, shall stand in great boldness before the face of such that have afflicted him. Pretty much like you said, that's going to be the time where we really rise up against them, right? When the Most High makes us the battle axe, right, against these nations, right? And they're gonna see it, right? I'm not gonna jump the gun, but that's just representing the turn of events. Where when you talk about 2nd Ezra 6, right? Esau is the end and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. That's what that's talking about, right? This kingdom being destroyed and our kingdom being built up, right? I'll keep going on that. Verse 2. When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, because they know we the strongest. They know we have power, right? They know it. But even when as we constantly read throughout the portion, right? When you read the Torah, it shows us constantly when the Most High is on our side, there is no kingdom, nation in our way that can stand against us, right? When we have the Most High with us. When the Most High is not with us, we are subject to we get destroyed, man. The scriptures talk about there's nations mightier and greater than us. the only reason why we're able to prevail against these other nations is because the Most High is on our side. And these nations know that, man. They're aware of it. Right? Well, I'm going to keep going on that. When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation.
Right. And so all the brothers, all the sisters, everybody out there that's watching, you know, that's kind of getting a glimpse of these clips and hearing these scriptures come out, you know, we really want to keep these things in the back of our mind, right? When the scriptures tell you don't trust your enemy, there's a reason why that scripture is written, right? You know, keep that to you know, use it as that fuel, use it as motivation, because guess what? The enemy has played us, right? And they continue to do it up until this day. All right, we want to make sure that we really truly understand what was done to us. Not only what was done to us, but why. All right, because that's a big point of it. Everybody knows, like, we have that enemy, but why did God allow the enemy to come against us like this? Obviously, because we broke the commandments of God. All right, this was a terrible punishment, but a terrible punishment comes from a terrible power. That's the power that we serve. We serve the God that created the earth, the sun, the moon, and the stars, the most powerful. So if we made a contract and agreement with him and we broke that, then obviously we will suffer from great consequences, right? But remember, the Most High said he will not leave us forsaken. He won't forsake us. In the end, he gonna say, keep reading on that up.
Verse 3. And they repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit shall say within themselves, this was he whom we had sometimes in derision, and a proverb of reproach. We fools accounted his life madness.
Right? They accounted our life for nothing, for madness. Right? Like cattle. Like we were animals. Like we didn't have emotions. We didn't have feelings. All right. When you go into the history about what was done, even when you talk about medical experiments and things that, you know, were done to poor black farmers in the South, Tuskegee experiments, all of these things that they counted our life for madness. They had us in derision, confusion, right? They had us hating ourselves. But the Most High said he's going to flip these things around, right? Give me Ezekiel chapter 35 and verse 5, I believe.
Con, I got you, Cap. I was about to pull that. I got you 35 and 5, right?
Con, go ahead.
Con. This is the Salakia. Give me a second. This is the book of Ezekiel. Salak. Chapter 35 and verse 5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I live, saith the Most High, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Sith thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee.
Because they didn't hate blood, even blood is going to pursue them. All right. We got to think about these things, man. Keep this in the back of your mind at all times. These are the stories. Play that story back one more time. Rewind it about 10 seconds. All right. This is a real story. This is not a fairy tale. This is not a Netflix commercial. It's not a Netflix movie. This is real life we're talking about. Somebody actually experienced this. This is not scripted. All right. Play that back again.
Daddy. Made my granddaddy dug his hole. He didn't have but one arm, but they made him dug his own grave. And he prayed, and they shot him backwards in the grave.
At Rosewood.
At Rosewood.
This is where it all began in the white settlement of Sumner, just a few miles from
So when we talk
Rosewood.
about Ezekiel 35 verse 5, it's based on situations just like that. They didn't hate that man's blood, right? They didn't hesitate to shoot him down after making him dig his own grave. right? They didn't hate blood. So the Most High say he had a punishment for these people. These people never paid for these things.
They
All
say
right, this is a story that came out in the 1980s, right? And nobody paid for this. Nobody apologized. Nobody said, you know what? Hey, we did y'all pretty wrong, man. Nobody's saying that.
they said he had to dig a hole with one hand, one
With one
arm.
arm, yeah, one
How is that
arm.
even possible?
Hmm.
I mean,
That's torture, man.
that's torture, man.
That's torture, treacherous. All right,
Con,
it's like how brutal can you be, right? But remember, the Most High said we're gonna serve an enemy who he got no regard for the young, the old. He has no regard for your life, no mercy on you. How do you look at a man that's digging his own grave? Right? Obviously, it took a while that it had to be deep enough and wide enough for his body to fit in, right? And then you shoot this man down in front of his family. This is something that was witnessed by this young lady. So when they see, videos of Hebrews and Israelites, and they have the heathens or the enemies, right, that did their people wrong, bowing down before them, you have in the comments that that's mean. That is nothing compared to what this lady has been through, and millions of others. If you got a problem with somebody bowing down before the Israelites, trust me, you don't know what God you serve.
Con, just to let me
Obviously,
back
you have
on.
to have a problem. Salakia, go
Slocky
ahead.
cat, my bad. I'm sure there's a delay, but just to kind of land me back on what you were saying in regards to the things that we've been through as a people. I'll give a personal story of my own father. My father told me he was raised in Georgia, and one day when he was probably like 8, 9 years old, him and his brothers was outside. This is in Georgia, and they were just kind of throwing rocks. Right? They was just like, no, I'm sorry, I take that back. They was not throwing. They was just in the front yard playing. It's a dirt road that passed by the house, right? And there was a car that came down the road. It was a bunch of Edomites, young Edomite boys in the car. And as they were driving down the road, a rock kicked up from the tire as they was driving down the dirt road, and it hit the body of the car. They stopped the car because they thought that my Abba or one of his brothers threw a rock at the car. They was like between 8 and 12 years old. It was like maybe four of them. And so they stopped the car, and my grandma came out the house, and they was arguing, and they proceeded to beat my grandmother. And then after they finished beating my grandmother, they left, but they said that they was going to come back and they was going to hang everybody. Now, mind you, my father was born in 1949. So this is back in the day in Georgia, in country Georgia, right? Tifton, Georgia, to be exact. So that's how my father's family ended up in as we know, as Clewiston, Florida. So that's how my father's family ended up in Clewiston, because they ran, because they were afraid that those Edomites was gonna. So imagine having to pack up everything that you have in a matter of hours or less than that to leave because you were afraid that a mob of white people was gonna come back and lynch you. This is the reality of what our people have gone through, right? So this is how I came to be. My father moved to an area. My mom ended up moving there from Alabama, and that's how my parents got together, when they were in elementary school. But that's how they both ended up in Clewiston, Florida. So let me get somebody give me, I'll read it myself. This is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 1 and verse 4. Therefore the law is slacked, and judgment doth never go forth. Right? Because when you look at that, if that situation was flipped around, right? And it was some black people, some Israelites, or some anybody. It could have even been Arabs or Chinese people threatening Edomites. They would have called the police, and justice would have been served. So this is an instance of the law being slacked and judgment not going forth. Because if judgment had gone forth, those Edomites should have served justice for the things that they did, right? And it says, For the wicked doth compass about the righteous, therefore wrong judgment proceedeth. And we see this all across the United States, all across the planet, right? We see the wicked compass about the righteousness. Even when we go outside and we speak against homosexuality, they come against us. When they hear us talking about keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, even when we're dropping videos, right? We got scoffers coming and telling us, "Oh, we're in the cult." Why? Because we're telling people to keep the law, statutes, and commandments of God. Because we're telling people to stop sinning. Because we're telling people to stop killing each other. Because we're telling our people to stop selling drugs. So that we're in a cult because we're telling our people to do better, right? That's the wicked compassing about the righteous. Therefore, wrong judgment proceeded, right? And this is why we fight. Khan, that's it for me. Slakia.
No, you brought out some good points. That's why that scripture is so powerful when you read Ezekiel 35:5, because it's like, that scripture applies to somebody here on the earth, right? And it can't be us, because we weren't the ones killing these people in innocent blood,
right?
Pursuing them with the sword. We weren't the ones doing that. It was literally the opposite, the other way around, right? But we can go ahead with the video. Lucky.
Sumner disappeared in the late 1920s when a fire destroyed the sawmill. But back in 1923, Sumner was a booming little company town. James and Fannie Taylor had a home not far from here. On the morning of January 1st, 1923, James Taylor was already at work at the sawmill when neighbors said they heard his wife Fannie screaming for help. Fannie told her neighbors that a man had entered her home and attacked her, a black man.
She opened the door, but he just knocked her down, and she was raped.
Edith Foster was 16 years old at the time. She remembers seeing the few hundred white men of Sumner joined by others from surrounding counties, even from out of state. She remembers how they grew into a mob seeking revenge.
If he hadn't ever went in on this white lady, there'd never been nothing to it.
It's not known for sure who attacked Fannie Taylor. Some whites say it was Sylvester Carrier.
Salakia, I did not know what she just said. Just not Salakia. I'm sorry. Salakia.
Said they heard his wife Fannie screaming for help. Fannie told her neighbors that a man had entered her home and attacked her, a black man.
She opened the door, but he just knocked her down, and she was raped.
Edith Foster was 16 years old at the time. She remembers seeing the few hundred white men of Sumner joined by others from surrounding counties, even from out of state. She remembers how they grew into a mob seeking revenge.
If he hadn't ever went in on this white lady, there'd never been nothing to it.
It's not known for sure who attacked Fannie Taylor. Some whites say it was Sylvester Carrier, a young, strong-willed black man from Rosewood. Some blacks say the attacker was a white man. They say it was Fannie Taylor's boyfriend. But a lot of people tend to think the attacker was a black convict who had escaped from a nearby chain gang. Whoever he was, he touched off a week-long killing party.
And just to be clear, come in here. That this is something, this is nothing new, where they blame a black man for doing something and they don't even have all the evidence. But one thing for sure is that a black man did it. All right, they gotta paint the narrative. They gotta paint the story to give some type of justification as to what happened. Right. This happens in America all the time up until this day. So I just want to throw that out there. Go ahead.
And they just wiped it off of the map.
That night around about 9 o'clock or 8:30, there they come in a car.
They kept looking for this Sylvester, but they didn't seem to find him. And then they went back up there that night and to talk to his mother.
Calling for my aunt saying, Sarah, Sarah, Sarah. And so my aunt didn't say nothing because she was scared too.
And that's when all the shooting began, you see.
They were shooting all in the house, all upstairs in the windows.
These colored folks, they were ready for it.
And I was sitting right between his legs. And he had the gun over to my right shoulder.
This was Sylvester.
Yes, I got down on him, and these old white people busted door down. When they busted door down, that's where he dropped them. He just dropped everyone come to the door.
He shot them?
Yeah.
Well, they killed Mr. Anders before he got to the house. They loaded him with a buckshot right here. Killed him dead. They had to leave him there.
At least 2 white men were killed that night, forcing the mob to retreat. It was then that the black women and children, 12 or 13 of them, ran from the bullet-riddled Carrier home and into the woods. Minnie Lee Langley, 8 years old at the time, ran with them.
We had a aunt with us, so scrappy. She was just like a hen with a nest of biddies. She taken us to the woods, kept us out in the woods. She kept us out in the woods almost a week.
There's swamps out there.
Well, we stayed in there. Took her like a soldier and stayed out there in the woods.
You went through those swamps?
Yes, we went all out in the woods. And she built a little bit of fire for us to stay warm because it was so cold at night.
In the morning, the mob returned, several hundred strong. Inside the Carrier home, they found Sarah, Sylvester's mother. She was dead. They also found another body, a black man. Some people say it was Sylvester, but no one really knows for sure. What we do know is what happened next. The mob set the Carrier home on fire, and they watched it burn. And then that mob grew in size, it grew in anger, and it became even more violent.
You ain't never seen a mob like that.
Fred Kirkland was a teenager when he saw the mob rampaging through Rosewood.
They went wild. There was 1,000 to 1,500 people there by that time, and coming in from every direction. And they was crazy. They give the high sheriff and the deputy 5 minutes to get out of sight and not come back.
They told the sheriff and the deputy to get out of town and not come back?
Get out of there. Give them 5 minutes to get out of sight.
And what did the sheriff and the deputy do?
They left there.
Man, that is insane. They really bullied the cops, bro.
Absolutely, y'all. I agree too.
No. I disagree with that. They didn't bully the cops. The cops were complicit. That's what that really was.
Right.
They used that as an excuse. Oh, it was a bunch of people and we were afraid for our lives. But they was all for it. Kill them niggas. That's exactly what the sheriff and the deputy was all about. That's how they felt.
They doing the job for them for free.
They wanted them to do their worst. They wanted to see a lynching. They wanted to see them on fire. They wanted to see the worst thing that could have been done to those brothers and sisters. That's what they wanted to see because it's in their spirit. They hate us with a perpetual hatred, as Captain Kadash brought out earlier. That's what they wanted. And we see this. Listen, each and every one of us, if we work in the public sectors of life as where we're serving or we're dealing with patrons or patients or customers, however it may be, we all see this. We know that look that we get from them. We're familiar with it. We know when people look at us and they don't want us to touch them. We know when the enemy look at us and they don't want us to deal with them. They don't trust us. They look at us like we're below them. I see it every day. So in a time where it was prevalent, it was open, it wasn't something that was frowned upon to be racist, it's nothing. And they still show it to this very day. So they wanted the worst that could have been done to them done. Because we see it, if we look in the history books, even the things that are recorded in the history books don't compare to the actuality of what happened that was not recorded. Because it talks about, the scriptures talk about Esau devising evil upon their bed when they wake up in the morning. They think of the most wicked, scriptures talk about there's nobody as more as vile or evil as Esau. They're wicked as hell. When you look at, sadomasochism, I can't even say the word because it's so vile. When you look at all of those things, that's Esau that came up with that stuff. That's not Jake that did that, right? So I yield with that.
Powerful point, King.
Then they went to burning houses, killing people. You never seen.
Yeah, Sunday morning they came through here, setting houses on fire, and as each one ran out, they'd shoot them, kill them. And there's a colored woman right here, lived just across here in the woods from me, and her name was Lexi Gordon, and she was sick. She had typhoid fever.
So, like, family, I have a quick precept.
She told her.
I had found that precept that Zamar was talking about. I just wanted to bring that up. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 4, verse 16. For they sleep not, except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall. Right? Just expanding on what Captain Zamar just brought up, talking about the wicked when they can't even sleep unless they have some Jake wrapped up or tied up in something.
What precept was that, King? I kind of want to pull that up.
Bring that up.
So, like, what precept was that?
Proverbs 4, chapter 4, verse 16. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 16.
The water. All right, it says, for the wicked cannot sleep unless they do evil. That's cold. That is madness. It says they cannot sleep unless they do evil.
They up at the late night.
Right. Thinking like, damn, how can I kill these niggas, man?
That's
how can I destroy
last precept.
Yeah. How can I destroy these niggas, man? Right. I like how the amplified renders it. It says, for the wicked cannot sleep unless they do evil, and they are deprived of sleep unless they make someone stumble and fall. That is insane.
That's cold.
Yo, that's cold. Even when you talk about that, like, goes into how that crafty council is a 24-hour operation. You know what I'm saying? They got somebody working the AM shift, the night shift, somebody working the double shift, right? Working to literally destroy our nation of people, finding different ways to destroy our people, whether it's through music, whether it's through food, whether it's through the media, right? They finding different ways to not destroy our people, destroy our elders, to destroy our youth, right? It's literally a 24-hour business. They can't go to sleep, right?
So, like, can I be here? Can anybody?
Come.
I was just gonna. What you just said remind me of that movie. I don't know if anybody's seen it yet, but that they cloned Tyrone.
Right. I ain't want to ruin it for brothers that ain't watching yet. But that's definitely.
But they literally slapped us in the face, bro. They are literally slapping us in the face, like coming out with that movie.
Vibe. I ain't seen it yet. Y'all boys vibe. Cuz, it's a lot.
Gotta give you the tables of stone, brother. Come on, man. But no, that's definitely highly recommend. You know, that definitely may be a topic that we may have to bring out, because it's definitely a lot of things that was going on. But all praises, you know. We gonna continue with the video. Salak, let me pull that back up. Cold precept.
The ones that was staying there with her, for them to go ahead and get away if they could, well, she just take whatever come, you know. Well, naturally, when they set the house on fire, well, she ran out towards the back, and she had a back door, Johnny, you know, out there, and so she made for it, and they shot her before she got there.
But she had nothing to
do with it at all, whatever. And well, it was a way of.
But that's the spirit they have. It's not because, and it's crazy because they look at us crazy and say, "Oh, we didn't have nothing to do with it. That was our ancestors. That was our forefathers. They're not here today, right?" But they have that. These other nations have that same spirit. We are the descendants of those people, right? They see our skin color as an identification. Oh, that's the enemy, right? And that's the same thing that happened with the sister, man. She ran out the house She may have not done anything to nobody. It's just a simple fact is that she was a part of a nation that they hated. That she's a part of a nation that they hated, man. Right? Right from the womb to the tomb, they're looking for ways to keep us in a lower state. That's right. Right? 24/7, man. Right? Come on.
With a lot of them, you see, that's the reason it was such a situation that we just couldn't understand. It was just a mad bunch of men come in here.
What do you think they got out of it? Why did they do it?
Motive, I guess, satisfaction is all I can figure it out. I don't know what it was.
Satisfaction.
I reckon that was it.
Well, the whole place was in smoke around here, you know.
Salaki, hold on. We got to play that back.
I don't know what it was.
Satisfaction.
I reckon that was it.
It said motive or satisfaction is the reason why they did that, right? Like we brought out in Ezekiel, it's a spiritual thing. It's due to a perpetual hatred that they have against the children of Israel, man. This is why this happens, right? I'm going to read the book of Amos, chapter 1 and verse 11, right? The book of Amos, chapter 1, verse 11. Because he tried to say, I don't know why that happened. I don't know what would cause them to motivate them to be in that type of spirit. Right?
I'm there.
Con. Amos, chapter 1, verse 11.
Con, this is the book of Amos, chapter 1 and verse 11. Thus saith the Most High, for 3 transgressions of Edom and for 4. And I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever.
All right, so this is the understanding of why these things happen, right? Because he casted off all pity from his brother. He pursued his brother with the sword, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever. That's a perpetual hatred, man. That's where you get mobs of white folk going out, burning houses, shooting anybody that come out the house. That's the spirit that they have, man. And our people ignore it. Khan, I yield on that.
Well, the whole place was in smoke around here, you know. They said they had destroyed all the buildings. And said that there would be no more to live here no more, you know. They couldn't come back and live.
Miss Langley, would you go back to Rosewood with us?
I would go. I would go if y'all don't let them bother me or nothing like that. I don't want to go out and get hurt or nothing. Yeah.
You remember?
Hello, darling.
We brought Minnie Lee Langley back to Rosewood for the first time in 60 years. We also asked Lee Ruth Davis, Leroy Carrier, and Sam Hall, all survivors of Rosewood, to come back for a day.
Oh. Hello, Sammy.
Hey. You remember her, Mr. Hall?
Yeah. Oh, she looked at that yourself for this Morrissey.
Yeah. Oh, Lord, yeah. This is Morrissey.
Was that what they used to call you?
That's right, they call me Morrissey.
You look just like Miss Virginia.
Yeah, my mother.
Yeah.
I'm bringing back memory that I wished I could get rid of. You know what I mean? This has been a hobby. If you just had been here to listen to all this and see some of it, then you would have known just what it was. We lost everything.
Lost everything.
You own the land.
Yeah, we own our land, all of them.
And no one ever paid you any money for this land?
No.
Just lost it.
Took it.
What do you say to children today? Children like this boy, like your great-grandson.
It's like somebody has some.
Con, I do have something. Just looking at that sister right there in the pink, she reminds me of my great grandmother. Ironically, my great grandmother was full blood Cherokee Indian, but she was classified as Negro. But anyway, I wanted to bring out a scripture, right? This is the book of Genesis, chapter 27 and verse 41, because just to give a precursor to the reason why I'm bringing this precept out, my father, I remember when I was about 15 or 16 years old, my father said to me, give me one reason why, a logical reason that I could reasonably accept why white people hate us so bad. And this was a genuine question my father asked me when I was 16. And I'm going to bring out Genesis chapter 27, verse 41. It says, and Esau Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, of mourning for my father are at hand. Then I will slay my brother Jacob. And you tie that with Ezekiel 35 and 5, that perpetual hatred because he gave up his birthright, right? That's forever. That's a forever hatred because that birthright was not just some birthday gift. It wasn't a PlayStation 5. It wasn't a car. It wasn't a condo. That birthright was dominion over the earth. That's what that birthright was. That birthright was the ability to rule the land and to have, have dominion. And and Esau gave that up. And because of that, even though it was already predetermined and predestined, pursuant to Romans chapter 9, Esau hated Jacob forever. And this is going to go for perpetual, generation to generation. This is why we see things going back to this time period with Rosewood. We see the time period of where Emmett Till occurred. We see all the way back up to Rodney King. And then we see all the way up until the point right now where we have the Sandra Blands and the Eric Garners and, all of these different brothers and sisters. And that's why when Captain Kadash said millions, thousands and millions of brothers and instances of situations happening of us being persecuted, killed, and murdered unjustly, he was right. Because only up until the 1900s, 1980, 1990, 2000, and so on and so forth, did video come out and situations like that were being recorded. What about prior to that? We're talking about hundreds of years prior to that of us being killed and massacred, right? Even in a time when it was legal, there were, oh my gosh, you can't even count it. It's uncountable, right? So these types of things have been happening to us for eons, and now they're just kind of covert, but the scriptures is true when it says never trust thine enemy, because our enemy has no love for us. They have a perpetual hatred for us, and this story is absolutely true, right? And that's why we got to come back to the law, statutes, and commandments, because the scriptures say whatever was written before was written for our learning. So we have to learn from what happened to our past to know how to navigate in the future, and I yield with that.
That's word. Come.
And people who didn't work to children today, children like this boy, like your great grandson, and people who didn't grow up when you grew up, and people who didn't go through what you went through, people who would say, this couldn't have happened in this country. Come on.
I would tell them like this. I said, don't ever stay in a place that white folks can surround it. Don't never stay in a place that...
That's right. That's right. What she said eloquently in the spirit is separate thyself from your enemy. That's what she said. That's pretty much what she said in scriptural terms, in scriptural layman terms, right? Let me actually get it in Sirach. That's beautiful advice to give to a young man, right? Can I get the book of Sirach, chapter 6, verse 13?
It's crazy seeing the shift in mindsets as time goes on. It's like here you have an older lady. She's like, "Listen, man, you don't stay around these people. I've seen what they're capable of." And now we're in a time where it's like, yeah, let's just hold hands and do sing-alongs.
Invite them to church service and Bible study, like Dylan Roof.
It's crazy.
I got you, Cap.
Hold that. Let me take that back one more time. Select the water, Cap.
Like folks can this
happen in this country. Come on.
I would tell.
I don't know why the brothers acting like this country is just so righteous. Why would this happen in this country? I don't know why he's thinking that this is like a righteous land or something.
Stuff like this. I said, don't ever stay in a place that white folks can surround you.
Don't ever stay in a place where white folk can surround you. Man, she's giving them survival tips. Right? Go ahead and read that, King. Sirach 6 and 13.
Khan, this is the book of Sirach, chapter 6 and verse 13.
Right?
Separate thyself from thine enemies and take heed of thy friends.
Right, we separate ourselves from our enemies, man. To the people that are against us. And we recognize who our friends are. Those are the children of Israel. Those are our friends. That's our family. That's our brother. Right? But these other nations, we separate from them. Bro, that's wisdom that she's receiving.
Don't never stay in a place that white folks can surround you. Because if anything happens some ways else, they'll run you out from your home, just like they did us.
Not many whites lived in Rosewood at that time, really just a handful. Among the few who did live here was a man by the name of John Wright, who owned the general store. John Wright lived in this house. It's one of the few that has survived. To blacks in Rosewood, John Wright was a hero. He opened his home to many of the women and children who were hiding from that mob. And John Wright did even more. He was able to get a message.
They always do that.
Hold on, you peeped that, right?
Yes,
like
they always do that.
She pretty much saying stay away from these white Caucasian folk because they as soon as they catch you slipping, you gonna be up out of there, right? So she's giving the breakdown says like Sirach 10, never trust thine enemy, separate yourself from the enemy. This man got to say, well, there was a good white man that was there that was helping him.
Hey, Con, and when you look at it, they do this to this day. Look at Black Panther. Right. Look at what was it? The Harriet Tubman movie. Every time there's a black, quote unquote, black or Israelite movie, they always have a white savior or a white token person in there to act as an integral part of the success of the movie. Every time, it never fails.
That is insane. Saying that, oh, he was considered a savior to the people. Come on, man. And that's how that cycle continues. That's how you have one generation of people telling you to separate yourselves from your enemy, and you got another generation of people saying, nah, there's some good folk. Right? There's some good folk that they're not all the same. They don't fall under the same umbrella. Right? And this is how that cycle continues. This is how they're able to infiltrate, right, and indoctrinate our people still, because they make it seem like they're no longer the enemy just because they say they sit them once, right?
But see, the key is, Salakia, Captain, Salakia. The key is when you look at stories that are coming out. This is 60 Minutes. This is CNN. This is these news that are controlled by our oppressors. So they'll put these stories out to appease us, but then there's always that little extra point in there, like we just were able to point out, that they make our enemy the hero to make us feel like, oh, Jesus was white. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe they are good. There are some good ones. You know what I'm saying? So they always say the victor tells the story, but when you look at the oppressed or the downtrodden, they never get to tell the story. So if you go back and you ask the people that were defeated in this situation if he was a hero, 9 times out of 10 they're going to disagree with that. I yield.
Con, I just want to get a precept, right, just to kind of demonstrate the point, because all this is just trying to make it seem like, oh, like he was bringing out, oh, there's one of them that's good. He gave me a shelter. He gave me home, right? So that means that he has to be good. And our people are blinded as if this man can't, that same man that brought you in can take you out, right? And that's why when you talk about these scriptures, I got to get these scriptures off, but I don't know if I start with the classic. A gift to store at the heart. That's Ecclesiastes. Let me see. Salakia. Let me see that. Right? Is that 7-7? Right. Con. Let me get Ecclesiastes 7-7.
Con is the book.
Because, right? This is a couple reasons why our people get blinded, right? Because when they receive these different gifts like shelter from the enemy, oh, they're not that bad. There was only a couple of them when they said there was a mob, right? But one of them was one of our saviors. Come on, man. All right, go ahead and read that Ecclesiastes 7:7.
Come, this is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7 and verse 7. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart.
All right, gift destroyed the heart. They say they have shelter now, and you know they could be saved, and they have a place to go after their house got burned down. And this is how that psychological chains are constantly put upon our people, man. Right? Let's get the book of Exodus chapter 23 verse 8. Right? Exodus chapter 23 verse 8. Because that gift blinds the wise, man. That
That's what
gift
I
blinds the
call
wise. Con.
that's what I call psychological warfare.
Right.
All right, psychological warfare. Like, they play games with the mind. Like, just like the story seems like, okay, they just told all those horrible stories that happened to our people, and then it's kind of like they try to X that out and say, well, even though they did that, but look at this good white man over here. All right,
Right.
let's highlight him. When really we should be saying, you know what, God got us out that situation. God is the one who delivered us out of the hands of our enemy at that hard
Right.
time. But we be forgetting about the Most High. That's why we're in the position in the first place, neglecting the Most High. What kind? Go ahead.
Go ahead and read that. I think I was
Exodus 23 and verse
um
8.
verse
Was it
yeah, verse
8?
8.
Verse 8.
Con.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 23 and verse 8. And thou shalt take no gift, for the gift blindeth the wise,
Mm-hmm.
and perverteth the words of the righteous.
Right? Con, I found what I want. Actually, Sirach 20 and 29. That'll be my last scripture, right? Sirach 20 and 29. That's what I wanted. Right? Sirach 20 and 29. This should show how that gift that you receive, or you got shelter, they give you food and things like that, that allows you to completely forget that this same man is your enemy. That you are literally in the hands of the enemy. At any given time, he can destroy you. But you forget that because of the things that he gives you. Because he gives you that 401k, because he gives you that stimulus check. Right? These are the things that blinds the eyes of the righteous, right? Let me get that Sirach 20 and 29.
This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 20, verse 29.
Right?
Wisdom that is hid.
Sirach 20 and 29.
29. Presents and gifts blind the eyes of the wise.
Right?
And stop up his mouth that he cannot reprove.
He can't reprove me anyway. He can't correct anything no more. Right? He can't notice that this man is wicked. He can't give out any judgment anymore. Because the person in front of him is giving him shelter, giving him food, giving him clothes. But that goes right back to the curses that you will go to your enemy in one of all things. So essentially, you are still under the curses, even if you feel as if he's the one that's providing you these things. The fact that you are even in that position is showing you that those curses are still active and in effect, right? And that's why our people are blind, man. Well, I keep going on this. Finish the video off. Brother said anything else? Keep going.
Message to the railroad that said, the town is on fire, send a train. And that's how many blacks escaped from Rosewood, by train.
Who was on the train? You were on the train?
I was on the train. I'll never forget it. It was night when the train come there. It was 4 o'clock. When we left Mr.
4 o'clock in the morning?
That's right. And he told him, conductor, to pull the train on to stop anywhere on the road that he saw women's and children, but not men, because they didn't know who the men would be.
If it hadn't been for this house,
we wouldn't have been here, because we wouldn't have had nowhere to hide.
Rosewood. You won't find an accurate account of it in any history book. Yet, about 40 people were killed here one terrifying week 60 years ago. When you think about it, far greater atrocities have happened elsewhere in the world. But Rosewood belongs to America. It's a real American horror story. The wonder is that it stayed secret so long. Minnie Lee Langley never even told her family.
I didn't want them to know that I was scouting through the woods to stay out there all night long. out there in that cold and all that stuff. I didn't
Running
want
for
them
your life?
trying to save my life. I didn't want them to know just how I come along, through all of this and what the white folks had did to us, because I thought it was really mean. What they did to us was mean, and did it without a cause.
That's deep. That is
Con,
deep.
con.
I'm gonna get one scripture real quick. Can somebody give me Ezekiel chapter 39 and verse 23? Because we want to get the reason why these things happen and what's going to happen at the end. This is very important to understand. This is what the whole class is built on.
39 and verse.
We can start at verse 23.
Come on. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 39 and verse 20. Thus,
23.
23, Salah. Verse 23. And the heathen shall know that the house of Israel went into captivity in their iniquity, because they have trespassed against me.
So like for their iniquity.
For their iniquity, because they trespassed against me. Therefore hid I my face from them, and gave them into the hand of their enemies. So fell they all by the sword.
Right. So remember the part that the lady was saying, of I think it was her father or her grandfather that they made dig the hole with the one arm and they shot him. I don't know if anybody caught on, but she said right before they shot him, he started praying. That's deep because remember this is what the Most High has done to us, right? He started praying to God, and what did God do? He hid his face from him. He started praying, and the Most High did not deliver him from the hand of his enemy at that moment. This is why it's so important for us to get right before we get into these situations. You can't wait until it's the last end and say, you know what, I'm done. Let me start praying. No, that's not how it works. The Most High hides his face for a certain period of time when you keep transgressing against him. All right, you don't know when the Most High is going to forgive you. All right, let's keep reading.
Verse 24. According to their uncleanness and according to their transgressions have I done unto them, and hid my face from them. Therefore, thus saith the Most High Power, now will I bring again the captivity of Jacob, and have mercy upon the whole house of Israel, and will be jealous for my holy name. After that they have borne their shame and all their trespasses, whereby they have trespassed against me, when they dwelt safely in their land, and none made them afraid.
Right, so here's the Most High saying what? He said, I will bring again the captivity of Israel. Meaning, I'm gonna bring you out of out of that captivity that I sent you in. After you borne your shame, after you carried that shame of the things that you did to break the covenant between us and the Most High. He said, after we paid that back and we carried that shame of going off and not keeping our word, he says, then, right, I will not hide my face. Keep reading on that.
Verse 26. After they have borne their shame and all their trespasses, whereby they have trespassed against me, and when they dwelt safely in their land, and none made them afraid, when I have brought them again from the people, and gathered them out of their enemies' lands, and am sanctified in them in the sight of many nations, then shall they know that I am the Most High their power, which caused them to be led into captivity among the heathen, but I have gathered them onto their own land, and have left none of them any more there. Neither will I hide my face any more from them, for I have poured out my spirit upon the house of Israel. Thus saith the Most High Power.
And that's deep, man. That's deep. So us looking at the stories of what our forefathers have been through and what people like, the older lady has been through, right? By looking at that, then we could say, you know what, we did something against God. right? He caused us to be led among the heathen, and then he's going to gather us at the end. He's going to reestablish the things that was once made into that covenant. All right, that's deep. Looking at all these stories, reminiscing about it, remembering about it, putting ourselves in those shoes, putting ourselves in that situation to say, you know what? God did these things because we transgressed against him. So it allows us to remember who we are. Remember 1 Kings 8:47, we won't pull it, but it says, if you bethink yourself in the land of your captivity, meaning if you remember who you are in the land of your captivity, then I will reveal myself unto you. Then I will show you the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Then I will give you back the covenants, the oracles of the Most High, right? But we have to remember who we are, and we remember who we are because of these stories right here. So we cannot push that under the rug. We got to continue telling our children about these things so they tell their children. We do not forget about the things that the children of Israel have been
And
through.
and
Go
Salak,
ahead.
I just wanted to land me back off what you're saying, about telling our children, what went down and what really happened. Because if we don't tell just because our forefathers didn't do the same thing that they were supposed to do about teaching us the law, statute, commandments, and teaching it to our kids and teaching it to our the kids, we would be in a better position. We would know who our enemy is, but because we didn't do it, now look at us. We now we're looked at as almost a laughing stock amongst the nations, just because we wasn't passing down information to our children. You know, it's very vital that we start doing these things, start pulling the history, because even just like last week, if I'm not mistaken, we were talking about how they're trying to take away history, Black history, from out the schools. So now it is up to us to make these steps and really teach our children about our history, and not history, but his story. You know, it's very vital that we really feed our children with these precepts, and teaching them the ways of the Most High, and also giving them historical facts that connects with the Bible, so they can get a very good understanding of what they should do, who they should deal with, and who they belong to. Because if you don't know your past, how will you know? How will you know your future? You know, this is very important and a very vital thing, and I end my point with that. So,
All praise to the Most High. And some powerful precepts brought out. All right, I just want to go through the comments. Conscious sister said the last living survivor died here in Jacksonville, Florida. Wow, I saw the emancipation on that. We should be afraid, right? That's correct. All right, Ecclesiastes 1:15. That which is crooked cannot be made straight. Right? Just because he gave you some shelter, gave you a little home to be in, does not mean this man's no longer the devil anymore. Right? Con. Right? So, it's definitely, good to get that refresher. This will remind us that there is an enemy in this earth, man. Right? And that we got to be prepared, right? We want to make sure that we blameless so we can watch this place burn and destroy, right? Because we don't want to be burned and destroyed with it. I remember a powerful brother said once, he said, man, I'd rather, as long as I can see, even if I get destroyed, if this place gets destroyed with it, I'll be happy, man. I'll be at peace. Right? But we want to strive for that blamelessness. We want to strive for that perfection that Yahweh Shah requires of us. Right? So I'll praise the Most High, the water for everybody that's tuned in. And if any brothers have any closing statements, you can kind of bring it out.
I got nothing.
I'm good, Cap.
I'll praise the Most High. Very powerful precepts that was brought out. It's definitely very edifying to learn these different things and understand the history that our people went through, man. Right? So I'll praise to the Most High, to the power of King Jacob, to water for everybody that continues to tune in. If like I said, we are in that process of building the school so we can have a sanctuary for our people, So if it's on your spirit, definitely donate $5, $7, right? $2. Keep the $2 drive alive, $7 drive alive, right? So we can continue to build up this school, man. All praise to the Most High, to the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. With that, we say shalom to the 12 tribes of Israel and death and destruction of Babylon. Shalom.
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 Okay. See them kings on the block. I know you see them kings on the block. Bringing out the word in every spot. Bringing out the word in every spot. Yeah. You see them kings on the block now. Bringing out the word in every spot now. 1611 is our Glock now. All around the world got it locked down. You see them kings on the block now. Bringing out the word in every spot now. 1611 is our Glock now. All around the world got it locked down. You see them prophets on them corners. 1611 got them on us. Spreading out this word like corona. Waking up our people out of comas. Yeah, this truth, they can't stop now. No matter what they do, we bring it out now. You come against the Lord, you'll be confounded. With that two-edged sword, you'll get chopped down. Hey, you see them kings on the block now. Bringing out the word in every spot now. 1611 is our Glock now. All around the world got it locked down. You see them kings on the block now. Bringing out the word in every spot now. 1611 is our Glock now. All around the world got it locked down.
We pull up on them, they be thinking it's a drive-by. 40 soldiers creeping like a thief in a nighttime. Never leave my brother, if we rollin', we gon' all ride it. Ain't no greater love for my brother, my life up on the line. Hey, they gon' get this wisdom if we don't go out and teach them. Yashara, the Prince of Power, you heathens, is just a remix. Bow down and kiss the ring, I'm picking slaves out for the kingdom. Son, let know he be reaching. We'll be in these trenches teaching outside with them blickers.
Hey, you see them kings on the block now. Bringing out the word in every spot now. 1611 is our Glock now. All around the world got it locked down. You see them kings on the block now. Bringing out the word in every spot now. 1611 is our Glock now. All around the world got it locked down.
Boys got the tools in the Glock, standing in the same spot where Lil Johnny got shot. Hit your pastor with the scriptures, make him do the chop-chop. I watch him dance, he just talking, call that thing a blah-blah. I'm in the grave, in the valley of the mist of the dry bones. Crucified on the streets like Christ when he got lied on. Kiss the ring of the king, big done us. Never miss with the sword, I'll praise you to the Father.
You see them kings on the block now. Bringing out the word in every spot now. 1611 is our Glock now. All around the world got it locked down. You see them kings on the block now. Bringing out the word in every spot now. 1611 is our Glock now. All around the world got it locked down.
If you want a prophet, then just ask for me. We running this race just like an athlete. Actually, Judas Maccabes, masterpiece, got them saying, book, chapter, verse, without that, you ain't saying none. Prophets Zamar, let's get it poppin'. Repenting ain't no sinning for me, that's the only option. The scripture is the picture, the Christian pastor be cropping. 1 Peter 4:11, homie, we don't do no talking. Let's go.
You see them kings on the block now. Bringing out the word in every spot now. 1611 is our Glock now. All around the world got it locked down. You see them kings on the block now. Bringing out the word in every spot now. 1611 is our Glock now. All around the world got it locked down.